If your goal is to preserve the life of the person that you're giving CPR to, why would you pause that to pick up trash unless you're trying to hide something? If he wouldn't have told us where it was, or if he would have taken it with it, we wouldn't have had it. We would have lost that element of the hiding, the trying to cover up.
We were now looking at Murray. He was behind the death.
Not only do you have to do what you can for the victim, but you also have to take into account the organization.
You're donning a uniform that's been a part of history, and growing up with the stories that you'd heard from the Manson cases, you know, Marilyn Monroe, all these notorious cases that you'd seen and heard about growing up were part of LAPD.
Historically, our department had not had very much success on high-profile cases. We had lost the OJ case. Everybody remembers the Bronco chase. Ourselves and the DA's office allowed him to turn himself in, and it turned into a pursuit and a hostage situation, just ridiculous.
And even though you have this overwhelming amount of evidence to secure a conviction, you don't get it.
We, the jury, in the above entitled action, find the defendant, Orenthal James Simpson, not guilty of the crime of murder, a felony upon Nicole Brown Simpson, a human being, as charged in count 1 of the information.
For us, working the cases, we didn't want to make the same mistakes that have been made in the department's memory and in the public memory. There was a lot of pressure to get it right. Me personally, I thought that it was going to be horrible. The public scrutiny, the second guessing.
This is kind of like when the generation when Kennedy was assassinated. I now will remember that I was in Times Square, you know, when I found out that Michael Jackson passed away.
There was a lot more pressure, if you will. There was a lot of eyes on us, obviously, to get the job done. It was daunting at times. When I showed up to go into the autopsy, you know, they had a little cover over the window, and they're looking to make sure it's just me and no one else is around, and they open the door and they usher me in right away and close the door and lock it. And I'm like, oh my gosh, you know, we're in a controlled environment. This is your office. This is a coroner's office. So what's the problem? Everything had been cleared out of there. I remember it being close to 5 hours long. It was extraordinarily long. The thing that was odd that I found myself periodically looking at was, you know, his head, his scalp. Because whenever he's out in public, he's wearing a wig. Looking at his scalp and the top of his head and being, you know, severely scarred, hardly any hair at all on the sides, to what he would look like in public with the flowing hair. That was, you know, a bit different. Not defending his use of prescription medicine by any means, but, you know, when you experience something like that, it kind of opens up the door for painkillers and whatever else that may lead to. But other than that, it truly just, let's do this and get it done, yeah.
Blood is drawn, and then that blood is sent to a toxicology unit. So the initial autopsy didn't show much, you know? Nothing much that you wouldn't be shocked a 50-year-old body would have. He was relatively healthy. You know, this isn't a man who should have died.
While an official cause of death has yet to be determined, the coroner's office says it has everything needed to make a ruling on why Jackson died.
So we're still waiting for the toxicology reports and the completion of all the reports that are coming in.
When the body was removed,
It was weeks went by, and we kept asking, when are we going to hear from toxicology? When are we going to hear?
We had a death, but we didn't have a criminal death yet.
It's official. Michael Jackson's death was a homicide. The LA County Coroner's Office says the cause of death was an acute intoxication from the anesthetic propofol.
Once the toxicology report came back, it gave us a lot more power behind our investigation. Other than going on a hunch, now we're going on facts.
And then it became the idea of how bad. That was the big question. How bad is this?
Ultimately,